Hello, welcome back to the channel, and we're now into July, so we are 6 months through 2023. And so in this video I'm going to recap my June solar generation, how much of that energy we used ourselves, how much we exported back to the grid, and basically the money savings from that. And because we're now 6 months into the year, next Saturday I'm going to release a special video where I look at the previous 6 months generation and look at the trends and make my own observations about what people should be thinking about if they are considering solar panels, because when you actually start thinking about it from a whole year point of view, it makes a slightly different way of thinking than just the overall power output that you could make. Anyway, also thank you to all those who have subscribed to the channel. If you haven't yet, please do. It would be nice to get up that 1,000 subscribers. And with that, let's go straight into the generation figures for this month, or last month, June. So in June, this is the graph of day-to-day generation. So on my roof I have 4.65 kilowatt of Q-cell solar panels, so that's 12 385 watt panels, and they're facing almost exactly south, and I'm based in Swansea, and we've got no shading or anything like that on top of our roof, and that feeds down into a 5 kilowatt Solis hybrid inverter, which then powers the house, or we can store some of that energy in a 5 kilowatt hour pure drive battery. So as you can see from this graph, we've had quite a lot of sun throughout June. There's quite a lot of days where we've generated over 30 kilowatt hours, and then a few days where it's dropped down into the 20s, and then a couple of days, a few days ago, so tail end of June, where it was a bit cloudy in Swansea. We had some rain at last, where we were only generating 4 to 5 kilowatt hours, and the last day of June, again quite a murky day, misty rain for most of the day. It was only about 10 kilowatt hours. So that totals to 719 kilowatt hours generated in total. That's actually a little bit less than what we had in May at 750, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is those couple of days of cloud, and also if you watch a video I released a couple of weeks ago, it's just due to the heat. June has been very hot. According to the BBC and their weather outlook, June was set to be the hottest June on record. And as I said in that video, for every degree above 25 degrees your solar panel is at, it loses about 0.3 to 0.5% efficiency. And because of the black body, they're probably at about 60 degrees. They do, in my case, they lost about 15% efficiency. So we did actually have a little bit less generation than in May. Now on to the second graph. So this is our usage graph, I call it. So red is import, so you can see virtually no import through that month of June. There was one day on the 29th where we imported half a kilowatt hour, and that was after those 2 cloudy days. We didn't just have quite enough saved in the battery, and we didn't use our power at the right time to make sure there was enough in the battery overnight, so we did have to import half a kilowatt overnight. So that's that red part there. All the other lines on this graph do have a little bit of red at the bottom, but it's about 0.1 to 0.2 of a kilowatt hour, so it's not actually visible at this scale. The yellow is energy that we took, that we had used from our battery, so it's been charged using the solar panels and then released when it was needed, probably during the night. So you can see that's actually fairly constant throughout the day. Green is what I call self-use, so this is power from the roof being used in real time. And yeah, we've managed to get that quite consistent now, so our lifestyle has changed so that we've actually been able to use our power in real time. Part of that is also because there is basically constant power generation due to the amount of sun. And then the blue, which basically dominates this graph, is our export. We've had a huge amount of export this month. So the question is, what does this actually look like in terms of our use? So this has been a fairly standard month where we have used our regular amount of electricity, which is around 200 kilowatt hours, or about 6 kilowatt hours per day. And this month we have used 203 kilowatt hours. And out of that 203, 198.6 has been from our own electricity generation. So we've only had to import 3.62 kilowatt hours. And I said most of the, half of a kilowatt hour of that is from that one day, and the rest of it, that 0.1 of a kilowatt hour does add up over 30 days to produce that other 3 kilowatt hours of import. In terms of export, then we have exported about 520 kilowatt hours back to the grid. In terms of the money, I'm currently with So Energy, and they are on an export tariff. I'll talk about my import tariff in a minute, but on an extra tariff I'm with So Energy, and they pay 5p per kilowatt hour. So that means this month alone we generated £27.27. There's a nice symmetry to that from our export. That's not our best month. That was May, where we generated £28.84. So again, a little bit down on May, but still fairly comparable. I'm quite happy with that. I did have some comments last time about moving on to Octopus Flux, because this pays more at certain times of the day. It's very hard to do the maths to see if it's worth it. Because I'll come on to this now, my import tariff is with British Gas, which is a dual tariff of gas and electricity, and I fixed for 2.5 years, about 2 years ago now. It runs out next March. I fixed at quite a low rate at 20p per kilowatt hour import for electricity, standing charge of 23p, and my gas is about 4p per kilowatt hour with a standard charge of 17p. So if I was to move supplier now, I'd not only have to pay an exit fee of about £100, but I would also have to take into account the increase in the stand-in charge and my gas prices. So it's very difficult to actually know if moving on to Octopus Flux would work for me. There's also the problem with Octopus Plus that you charge your battery and then you release your battery at a high export rate. But then that adds deterioration to your battery, so you don't actually get the savings you think you are. So it's going to be one for me to have to look into for the future. Okay, so let's look at input. So as I say, I pay about 19p per kilowatt hour for input, so this is where these numbers are generated for. So we imported 0.63 of, we generated 3.63. We imported 3.63 kilowatt hours, and that cost us just 63 pence. There's a lot of sixes and threes going on here. So it's just 63 pence for my import bill for electricity in June. That means that 198 or 199 rounded up kilowatt hours that I self-use, that would have cost me £38.89. Pence. So that's what I've saved in the month. And if you add that to my £27.27 I got from my SEG, that comes to like a monthly payback on my solar panels of £66.17. So the final sort of metric you can measure this by is by reliance on the grid. So our reliance on the grid for this month was 1.59%, which is our lowest to date. So those are my figures for the month. As I say, next week I'll release a video where I look at the last 6 months of generation and how much that has saved me. So that gives me a more indicative yearly payback on the panels, if that's what you're interested in. But it also looks at how your generation changes throughout the year, because obviously it's not consistent. In some months you get more generation, so that might help you with your planning for that. Anyway, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, I've also got a Facebook page, which is Dr. Chris J. Barnett, nanotechnologist and tutor, if you'd like to follow me on that. And I'll see you in another video very soon.